This is the Realty Classroom Podcast, episode number 81, Why Being a Proactive Hunter Matters. Are you a real estate agent with an entrepreneurial spirit who wants to turn your job into a business without sacrificing your lifestyle, but you just can't seem to find the right plan to help you get there? Well, then, hey, you're definitely in the right place. I'm Danny Griffin, the founder of the Realty Classroom and the host of this podcast. And to help you take immediate action to get started in the right direction if you're new to the business, or build a better real estate agent business if you're a veteran agent, I've created a free jumpstart course for you. It's sitting waiting for you over there at freeagentgift.com, freeagentgift.com. Get over there and get started. It's super helpful. All right. In this episode, I want to talk about being a hunter, why being a proactive hunter really matters. The first point here is that we get it. In this modern age as real estate agents, we have a lot of competition for our clients' eyeballs. You ever hear that statement out there that, they have a lot of eyeballs? So there's a lot of technology companies that came into the business. I can remember sitting in rooms with some of the founders early on. Oh boy, way back when. Can't even remember how early in the 2000s I met some of these folks or was around them. And, everybody was against them and they were going to ruin our business and all these things. That's just what progression of business evolution is like. People see opportunities, they see weakness, they come in and they get the eyeballs. And that's marketing 101. That's business 101. When somebody sees that there's a problem in an industry and then they think they can come up with a better solution, they do so. And that's how businesses get started. So don't sit around in these cement shoes whining and gnashing your teeth when this happens. Just understand, hey, there was an opportunity, someone seized it. So what am I talking about? Well, if you really go way back in time, I think it's about 1995 or 96, when Realtor.com gets created. And by the way, this is a private company. This isn't some really an affiliate per se, not an affiliate of the National Association of Realtors. They set up a cozy agreement with them to do what? To be the first technology company to get full-blown access to multiple listing across the country and just throw it out there, right? Pandora's box, just like that, poof. What was once proprietary to agents and somebody had to come and sit down with you, and even early on they had to sit down and look online with you. I've been around this long enough as an investor, as a young guy, looking at books. But technology would have it that that's not the most efficient way for people to look at property. Once it was digitized, the most convenient way to look at property was to look at it online, look at it digitally. What's wrong with that? I mean, that happened with all sorts of goods and services, right? Ask Jeff Bezos how that whole thing worked out. Once everything became more convenient online, of course there were going to be all sorts of new companies that were created that took inventory, in our case, the pictures of houses, and gave it to the consumer in a better way than, guess what, the industry had done. And early on, it's not like all of the real estate agency companies, and the big ones included, didn't have an opportunity to do the same. But everybody gets so stuck in tradition and they get stuck sitting there that somebody else has to come in, and now everybody wakes up and now everybody's trying to do it. Well, the good news is, even if you're David versus Goliath, there's all sorts of simple low-cost technologies where you can have access to the very same data that any major technology company has and put it out there for the consumer to see and be strategic about getting those eyeballs. I told my clients this week, because I had this question and they were fretting it, this company, how can they, quote unquote, get away with indexing my listing ahead of me? Shame on Google or this. I said, stop. Right? And that's a little bit of a dramatization, but I said, stop. Just understand the game. Major technology companies have all sorts of bodies sitting there obsessing over search engine optimization and at a singular level of an address. So they're trying to obsessively index on their website, because that's all these companies are, their websites. They're indexing all these addresses, so that when somebody Googles the address name, now you just got the listing, sure, but you're up against everybody else who's been indexing not just that address, but many, many others. And the minute it's a fresh piece of content from MLS up to their site, you're in competition for eyeballs. Get it? Pretty simple. So when you think about that, you say, well, how do I compete? So there's all sorts of little techniques and tactics that you can use. For example, if you have a video, you can put that on YouTube and you can SEO. Remember, hold on. YouTube is owned by Google, so they really like to index their own video company stuff, aka YouTube videos. So when you have a little virtual tour that you've made a video out of this property, those little titles and headlines and all those things in the back end of YouTube, that's for SEO purposes. Simple. Doesn't take some rocket scientist to figure all that stuff out. That's how it gets indexed. Now, of course, the more content that you put up, the more likely you are to get indexed higher. Would be the same thing on your website. If you're embedding these things on your website, you're constantly pulling in new information. Sure, you're in the game, quote unquote. But if you think you're going to pick a fight with Goliath, think again about strategy. You're not just going to put it on your website and hope that Google just likes you better than they like Zillow, Trulia, Redfin, this one, that one, whoever it is, right? That's just not the way this is going to work. So just suffice to say, let's just accept it's a dogfight. I'm not going to go down the rabbit hole of all the things that I would teach my clients to do to try to game themselves up the ladder, because again, I'm not even sure that that's the most important strategy to sell the property. I get it. I told you a couple tips right now that you could use to start to move your way up, certainly with video on YouTube. But let's get off that for a second. Let's just embrace it's going to be difficult to compete with all this technology out there. But let's ask a question. Why are we fretting and whining about doing so when there are all these other really seriously important low-tech things that an agent can still do to be proactively in relationship with people that oftentimes does a little bit of leverage of technology, but still relies heavily on relationship building? So let me get to the next point here. If you just sit back and also say, okay, well, Danny tells me, wow, there's not much I can do, so I give up. No, that wasn't the point at all. I'm going to put that little thing over to the side that's saying there's a lot of things that David can do to pick up a sling and a rock and still win the fight with Goliath. But I want to move more so over to a lot of people then sit back and let technology do their thing with their client or their prospect, or delusionally their leads. That's even the worst part. Everybody just throwing somebody onto an IDX site, having them as leads, and just believing that that website somehow is miraculously going to do all the work. Well, guess what? A lead that's likely to use a website, for example, on the buy side to search for properties, is probably also using 5 other sites. So even though yours is one of them in the hunt, you're just in that massive pit. It's like an MMA pit with 5 people trying to beat the crap out of each other for that lead's attention. That's a very difficult game to win. So what you have to start to understand, you're going to need to get in there. Don't wait back. Get in there and begin to add value, especially all you lead generators that are still out there delusionally thinking the fish are going to jump in the boat. Begin to look at what these people are looking at, add some insightful information, and start to cross over this Rubicon into this place where you still have proprietary access to what? To the source of the information. Like, let me just state the obvious, okay? What didn't change because of the advent of technology and its advancement in our business, what didn't change is that the multiple listing service is still the marketplace. And you and I as agents are still the source of garnering those listings and putting them into our marketplace. Yes, we have sold access away to the rest of the world, but you're the source. That's the mothership. You understand what I'm saying here? Listen closely. It's just like the New York Stock Exchange, where down on the trading floor, the real business takes place, the real marketplace. And the closer we are to the mothership, the more we understand it, the more control, the more direct access. You have the same dang access that anybody has, only better. You're a paying member of your multiple listing service. And these days, most multiple listing services, even the private member-owned ones or the company ones, they all have a piece of software that can pull directly from the source and give that same contact the information about the property. Okay, now, There's a debate about whether that's direct access. It's any better than some of this technology company. I'm not going to debate that. I'm just going to say it's more about how you frame it in your own mind. I am a member, paying member of the multiple listing service. I have that access as an agent. I am still the insightful go-between between the contact, buyer, seller, whomever I'm working with, and the info. A technology company is not going to miraculously be able to bring in all this hyper-local, insightful information or expertise as an agent in the field until they start making robots that are run by AI who can go out and become a physical agent. So stop fretting all this stuff and get back in this game proactively in your own head. Really important to understand this, right? So if you get delusional that somehow you don't have to do that work anymore, if nobody's taught you, by the way, if you're new to the business, I hope you really hear this message is about being proactive, okay? If you've been around for a while and you're just given up, shame on you. You've given away your massive competitive advantage of all the insight you've gained over time, okay? You're not getting beat by these companies. You're just getting lazy. Let it sink in. I know, I said it. You're getting lazy. You're not thinking, well, how could I still win? And some of the, wily veterans are still smashing it out there. Look at them. They've been around for 20, 30 years and they're still smashing it. Why? Because they look at the technology, they leverage it to the point they can get it, or they look at it to their clients and say, yeah, you can keep looking at that site, but just pick up the phone and call me. I'll give you the insight. I'm the one that's your guide. See, this business is not about access to information. We've always had access to information. It's just gotten easier. Now, more than ever, with all the noise that's online, they need guidance more than ever. So when you're proactively in there with them, much better. So how do you do that? Next point. Leverage your dang access to MLS, okay? So in other words, the first thing was, if you're waiting back and letting all these tech companies get access to your client, give information, you're risking your relationship. They're not seeing what value you have as much as they could be. So you do that with the third point here. Leverage your access to the source, MLS. Say, look, you can keep using, this is what I say, specifically to my clients. I'm just coming fresh. Every time I do these podcasts, you have to understand, I'm either just finished coaching my mastermind members or I just am fresh off the street with a buyer, literally 20 minutes ago. So I'm telling you what I say. They were on one of these technology sites, and I'm not going to be here to disparage them. Okay, so the site, she likes that site. She's on 3 or 4 different sites, like I said. But she's also on ours. And I said, okay, look, get off of those sites. It's right there in the MLS feed, too. You already have it. And just come down to the Cape Cod, where I am. Come down today, and let's go see this. Because I'm going to tell you what, I sold the house right across the street. The deeded rights to the water are right there. The street is private. It's a cutesy little dirt road, and you're going to love it. That's insight. You see what I'm saying? Like get off of that thing. Come down. That's the right house. That's the kind of thing you're looking for. So an hour and 15 minutes later, and now we'll probably be writing up an offer tomorrow when her husband comes down to see it. So that's the point, is you're leveraging this access, but you're also being proactive in giving the insight about the area. Now, this is a client that I found off of an open house sign about 2.5 months ago. But they were desperately seeking and searching. Here they were with their apps. Got apps. I'm looking at properties, but nobody's giving them insight. You hearing me? Nobody's giving them insight. So you're about to drop all this money on your future, and you don't know much about what you're looking at, but you know your gut has told you it's time to do this thing. It's time to make this move. I'm motivated at a 10. So I need somebody who not only can give me access to the source, the multiple listing, and give me insight. By the way, what else is in the source? All of this sold information. I have one of my clients that tells me all the time, well, that's easy to get. What? What's easy to get? Sold information? Sure, I suppose, if you have nothing but time. But what about the professionals that we are, being proactive and saying, okay, let's take a look. Hey, look, while we're here, let me just show you this one across the street. Sold for $815. He put this kind of money into it. Here it is. This is what these guys paid back in 2005. So it's reasonable where they're at. Boom, 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 boom. All done in 15 minutes. Access to information that's hyper relevant to that person. Did the technology company do that for them in 15 minutes? Or did the agent who's proactively listening to what's important to them and acting like a professional? pretty simple. This is not rocket science. This doesn't take 20 years of being a realtor to learn this. This is you being proactive. Dive over the dang side of the boat with a knife in your mouth and go fishing for these people. Get them the information that they want. And that's that point here. Number 4 is by being proactive and hunting for the relevant information that's hyper relevant to them. See, with this buyer in particular, she and her husband, they have a lot of kids and they're anticipating grandchildren. And so they have these needs. So they start out here and they say, we'd love to be near the water. We want to be able to, before we retire, come down to the Cape from off Cape, which is about an hour or so drive without really having to think about it. We can do it whimsically. So we start at the outer ring of the bullseye. I listen. So we go into these little villages, and now I know tennis is important to her, access to either the lake or the beach. So we begin to narrow more. We make an offer on a house. We do a home inspection. They're scared about the water table level. It's too close to the marsh. We realize, okay, you don't really want one of these Cape Cod style cottages that has that risk. We need more of a house, more relevant information. See where I'm going? We're proactive. We're hunting. Hey, can I come down this afternoon? Yeah, no problem. No problem. What time would you like to come? I'm ready. I'm ready. This is what I do. I'm ready for these people. This matters to them. That's a hunter. You are ready to hunt with them. And the coolest thing is when you get a great client like this, they're hunting, you're hunting, everybody's looking. It's thrilling, right? Because you're all after the best part of their life. And you know what was cool for me today? Across the street was another guy who had been hunting. He was in Florida when he started, so he was blind, and I had helped him. And there I was today, sitting across the street. Oh boy, what is it? About 7 years later, and he's done a beautiful job. Waterfront. He's happy. How's your wife, etc. Everything's good. Because I was a hunter for him too, when he was blind. And this starts to accumulate in these small areas within which you work, and you get known as a hunter, a hustler, a grinder. All those things that are positive attributes when the world is just cheated to technology and made people scared or lazy or confused or whatever the heck is happening to all these real estate agents, right? And that's the final point here. Technology is only a threat to lazy agents. It is. It's only a threat to lazy agents or lazy people who look at it and they freeze up. And again, I'm not trying to hurt you. You know what I do here on this podcast? I provoke you to think, to take action. Business is ruthless. Small business is more ruthless. Real estate agency is ruthless. I'm here to protect you. So you have to understand these points are key. I do what you do, want to do if you're listening to this and you're not licensed yet, whatever. I do this thing. And it ain't easy, folks. But it gets easier when you take the bull by the horns and you take control. You and your clients can leverage technology, but it does not take away the human interaction. I still see it every single day in my own business, with my own agents at my own brokerage, and everybody that I coach. And that's a lot of people in one way or another. I see the same thing. People appreciate the help of other people, especially when it's around the biggest financial and emotional transaction that most people ever make in a lifetime, called residential real estate. It's a big deal. So let me go back and hit these bullet points again. Why being a proactive hunter matters is this. 1, you better be, because you have a lot of competition for your client's eyes, your prospect's eyes, and your lead's eyes, right? There's your funnel. I worked it backwards from the most important. You better be proactive because somebody's trying to get their eyeballs, their attention, and their business. Next, you're risking your relationship by waiting back. You meet somebody at an open house, maybe you even do the right thing and get them set up on MLS as well. But if you wait back, you're again risking that because they're confused. Most buyers, especially, don't understand how the business works. Stop assuming that they do. They don't. In our world, we have, 6 steps to helping a buyer so they know where they're at with us and they know the service. This is not about signing buyer-client contracts or not. Those of you that do that, okay, you have a little bit more control. But just in general, even if you do that, I've seen people lay back and do a terrible job, get cheated on, and start whining that they broke a contract. This is all about not waiting back. Next, Leverage your dang access to the marketplace called MLS. Put your contacts in there. Tell them it's okay to keep using the apps, but put them in where you control the data and put yourself on the same feed so that every time something comes up that fits their criteria, you see it too. Pick up the phone and tell them, did you see this one? Text them, did you get that one? Be proactive and hunt for relevant information as time goes on, too. Keep refining. Don't just let this randomly run along. Bring somebody to the bullseye. Well, that's not what you said you wanted, so bring it in a little closer. And lastly, stop whining about these tech companies that are coming into the real estate agency business. It's a fact of life, and they're not better than you at the job of relationship building because they can't be. They're based on these big global technical types of ways to try to get eyeballs. They're not in the real estate agency business. You are. Act like it. All right? So summarize the key points. Stop sitting around and whining about how all the technology companies have interfered with the real estate agent business and proactively work for your clients instead. You'll win that fight every day, I promise you. All right, remember, you can take immediate action and get started in the right direction with our free simple business plan over at freeagentgift.com. Also, don't forget to subscribe to this podcast so that you don't miss out on any of the insights I give you each time we upload an episode. We also broadcast our live sales training calls on Facebook and YouTube every Friday at 1 o'clock Eastern Time. So remember, turn on those page and channel notifications for the Realty Classroom and you won't miss the reminders. We also would appreciate if you would share our content with other entrepreneurial real estate agents just like you so that they get the help they need as well. Hey, thanks for listening. Remember, you know what I always say here, if you listen before and if it's your first time, hear this loudly and clearly. Nobody's coming for you. Nobody. So go get to work on your own business, and I'll see you in the next episode.